Naming conventions are very important in the fitness industry so you don't mislead people. You don't pretend to be more than you really are. I'm natural. No, you're on hormone replacement. I'm on hormone replacement. No, you're on a cycle. I'm running a cycle. No, you're blasting your socks off and your blood pressure is so high. I'm worried that one set on the leg press will turn the whole gym experience into that scene from The Shining. Welcome to Vigorous PEDs. I'm Coach Steve. What are suitable goodies on top of your hormone replacement therapy protocol? But we'll first have to determine what a hormone replacement therapy protocol actually is, because I see a lot of creativity nowadays, and some of you guys are really pushing the boundaries. 500 milligrams of testosterone per week. I'm on hormone replacement. I'm on 250 test and 300 primo. I'm on hormone replacement. Guys, stop it. You're breaking the rules. That's not what HRT is. So first, let's determine what HRT actually is and where you have to draw the line between HRT and being on an actual cycle. Now, if my voice sounds a little bit raspy during this video, it's because I just trained legs, because I'm going to start training in the morning again, because those evening workouts are not very enjoyable. So it's AM workouts for me, and I'm pushing the boundaries of natural training as far as I can, so my voice might be a little bit raspy, trying to continue to leg press 10 plates and, get a decent amount on my hack squat. Anyway, what is HRT actually? Well, let's start at testosterone first, because that's, of course, is bioidentical, but there are certain reference ranges that you need to adhere to, because 1500 nanograms per deciliter on your total testosterone, that's not hormone replacement. And I don't care what you say about ancient man and the Neanderthals had 2000 nanograms per deciliter. Show me the proof and we might be able to consider it. But for now, the reference range is around 1000 nanograms per deciliter as the absolute maximum. And in my, 10 years of doing consultations and reviewing blood work for people, the highest I've ever seen is a 1000 nanogram per deciliter total testosterone reading on a person that didn't go to the gym that often. So I felt that testosterone was a little bit wasted, but he was, at least spreading the love a little bit, judging by his lifestyle. So that's the highest testosterone reading I've ever seen. The reference ranges are up to 1000 nanograms per deciliter, maybe a little bit lower, depending on the country that you live in and the medical standards that they follow. So let's say hormone replacement, a maximum of 1000 nanograms per deciliter. Now, if you consider yourself a bodybuilder, I feel that you're excused from this medically established reference range, because from the blood work that I've seen with myself and all of my clients that follow the 1 milligram per 1 pound of body weight and 10% body fat rule, they still stay below 1500 nanograms per deciliter, considering, you don't do one injection per week and you go check your total testosterone levels the day after. So let's say you're 250 pounds and you're pitting 250 milligrams of test per week, and you check your testosterone after a single injection of 250 milligrams. Yeah, your nanograms per deciliter and your total testosterone will be, over 2,500, maybe even 2,800. But if you space your injections apart, because you don't want to use an aromatase inhibitor when you're doing those micro injections for the most stable serum concentrations, most guys at 1 milligram per 1 pound of body weight will end up somewhere around 1200 to 1350 nanograms per deciliter if they check their total testosterone concentrations the day after the injection. And it might be a little bit lower if you do 2 injections per week, let's say 125 milligrams test Monday, Friday, and you check your total testosterone the day before your injection or the morning of the injection, meaning that you had 3 to 4 days in between the injection and your blood work. Maybe your total testosterone is only 900 to 1000 nanograms per deciliter. So that's still considered hormone replacement, even though it's generous hormone replacement for bodybuilders. And then, besides exogenous testosterone, if you're a guy that notices reduced semen volume or testicular atrophy and you want to keep your testicles going, second option would be ACG or HMG. And please make sure that it's recombinant HMG containing recombinant LH and FSH, not urine purified HMG, because it might contain some trace proteins, which might give you some sort of immune system response. So again, recombinant HCG or recombinant HMG containing LH and FSH. Those would be, you have to choose between either or. You could run both at the same time, but that's basically a full-blown fertility protocol. And we're just trying to maintain some sort of testicular function throughout exposure to exogenous testosterone in this hormone replacement therapy protocol. ACG is bioidentical, LH is bioidentical, and FSH is bioidentical. ACG is, almost undetectable in men. It's mostly found in pregnant women in, pretty high amounts. So men, even though they respond to ACG through the combined LH-CG receptor, I would still prefer recombinant HMG over recombinant ACG, because LH and FSH, that's something that your testicles really respond the best to. Now, unfortunately, HMG is very pricey, so I completely understand if you want to run ACG instead. If you're a guy that doesn't notice testicular atrophy and your semen volume is still legendary, thanks to that monstrous protocol that I mentioned right here, maybe DHEA and Pregnenolone is more suitable for you. Now, it could be a low dose as 25 milligrams DHEA and 10 milligrams of Pregnenolone, or 50 milligrams of DHEA and 25 milligrams of Pregnenolone if you're not using ACG or HMG, which stimulates these neurosteroids production in the adrenal glands. And you want to keep these neurosteroids at the top of the reference range because you're enjoying your testosterone at the top of the reference range and you're spacing your injections apart to a point where your estradiol is also at the top of the reference range. So your hormone protocol looks like this: top of the reference range testosterone, top of the reference range estradiol, and by using either ACG, HMG, or supplemental DHEA and Pregnenolone at the dosages which are useful for you, your DHEA and Pregnenolone will be at the top of the reference range also, including the DHEA sulfate and Pregnenolone sulfate. So that will be general hormone replacement therapy that is very practical for 99% of the people out there. Now, for some guys that notice a little bit of reduced libido and they don't convert so much Pregnenolone into progesterone or allopregnenolone, maybe micronized progesterone directly is suitable for you. Now, personally, I don't have so much experience with micronized progesterone because it's not available for me, but I've recommended it to some of my clients, and they noticed an increased libido and a little bit more anabolism. Now, it's probably a little bit of placebo because, of course, you get some anabolism through the progesterone receptor, but you also get anabolism through the estradiol receptor or the estrogen receptors, and, of course, the androgen receptor. I mean, that's probably the best anabolism you can get. So micronized progesterone would still be considered hormone replacement therapy because when you take exogenous hormones and you shut down your HPTA and you reduce HPAA functioning, you might lose out on some of this pathway. So micronized progesterone might be a suitable goodie on top of your, traditional hormone replacement containing testosterone and perhaps ACG, HMG, or DHEA and Pregnenolone. And of course, a couple peptides which are bioidentical, the favorite being a growth hormone, and you supplement exogenous growth hormone on top of your natural growth hormone production, ending up at around 1 to 2 units per day. Now, I feel that exogenous growth hormone, to get the synergy with exogenous testosterone, there's a little bit of a ratio there. So I wouldn't go over 2 units of growth hormone per day, considering you keep your testosterone below 250 milligrams per week. 1 to 2 units of growth hormone to get the synergy of this, hormone replacement dose of testosterone, whether that's generous or true hormone replacement, maybe 125 milligrams of exogenous testosterone per week. 1 unit or 2 units of growth hormone, that's more than enough, and still bioidentical and still part of a hormone replacement therapy protocol. Next on that list would be thyroid hormone. Again, if you're using 2 units of growth hormone, I feel that it's warranted to add in 100 micrograms of T4 because exogenous growth hormone at, a little bit generous dosages speeds up thyroid conversion. So if you're on 2 units of growth hormone per day and it increases your metabolism, you might want to supplement 50 to 100 micrograms of T4 on top to make sure that the thyroid conversion doesn't deplete because your body is not keeping up with adequate T4 production. Now, in most cases, a lot of guys that don't really need exogenous T4, but if you're not really on top of your iodine and selenium intake or your vitamin K1, K2, MK4, MK7, then exogenous thyroxine T4 might be a suitable route for you. And again, we're trying to keep our serum concentrations as stable as possible. So I feel that it's a suitable goodie and an add-on on top of your hormone replacement, because it's still hormone replacement, considering that growth hormone speeds up thyroid metabolism and thyroid conversion. Now, there's something to say for exogenous IGF-1, even though most guys would like to, if you're on hormone replacement and you're a little bit older and you start to look older than you really are, you might want to keep that IGF-1 suppressed with metformin or berberine, or maybe a serum, on milligram for milligram basis, taking all the potential side effects into consideration and all the potential benefits. If you want to lower your IGF-1 concentrations, I feel that metformin is suitable. Now, metformin obviously is not bioidentical, but it's not a hormone either. So some of these ancillary medications would still be allowed on hormone replacement therapy because they're not hormones, even though metformin is affecting your hormone balance by lowering IGF-1. But it might be beneficial, and it increases insulin sensitivity, and it potentiates a little bit of glucose homeostasis in the blood. So I feel that it's acceptable to run 500 milligrams of metformin per day, probably before bed. That's usually the best time to take it if you want to lower IGF-1 concentrations in the bloodstream, because you get the highest IGF-1 production within the liver during your nighttime growth hormone pulse. Considering you're not, of advanced age, then of course your IGF-1 production and your growth hormone secretion is not that dramatic to begin with. So, you either want to run metformin to bring your IGF-1 down, and if you're a little bit younger and you can source legit IGF-1, I feel that a pretty low dose upon waking or before workouts, let's say 50 micrograms, considering it's IGF-1 LR3 or IGF-1 DES, can be run a little bit lower dose because it acts a little bit more faster. But again, to be honest, IGF-1 LR3 and IGF-1 DES are not completely bioidentical. But I feel it's still acceptable because, even though they're slightly modified to either shorten the half-life or prolong the half-life, close enough. I would consider it close enough. So a low dose of IGF-1 during your hormone replacement, I feel that it's a suitable goodie on top. And even exogenous insulin, even though only rapid-acting insulin is actually bioidentical, and the short-acting, the long-acting, or the intermediate-acting insulins are also modified, just like IGF-1 LR3 or DES are modified. It's close enough, and a little bit of insulin goes a long way, considering you're training insane, and could require a little bit of extra metabolism and, stimulation regarding nutrient uptake by taking exogenous insulin or exogenous IGF-1. So yeah, it's a pretty long list. Testosterone, ACG, HMG, DHEA, Pregnenolone, Micronized Progesterone, exogenous growth hormone, exogenous IGF-1, exogenous insulin. It's a pretty long list, but the dosages are pretty moderate. And again, we're trying to do this for health purposes. So you're not going to, go on 8 units of growth hormone with 150 milligrams of testosterone per week. That's completely absurd. Low dosages for the sustainable route. That will be hormone replacement. Now, metformin is, not bioidentical, but it's a suitable goodie on top. Something like Aromatase. Again, it's not bioidentical, but it might be required if you're a little bit higher body fat or you don't enjoy injecting every day and it's a little bit cumbersome to you and you get, too much estradiol conversion. You might need Aromatase. Now, I prefer Aromatase over Arimidex or Letrozole because Aromatase is a steroidal suicide aromatase inhibitor. It's one of the only pro-hormone that ever got FDA approved. And even though it's not bioidentical and it acts completely different than any other steroid hormone which is found in the bloodstream, again, it's close enough, and it's an ancillary medication because it has no anabolic benefits besides raising your testosterone concentrations and lowering your estradiol concentrations for that favorable ratio to keep both at the top of their respective reference ranges. So that would be my only, no, not really. We'll get into the gray area supplements a little bit later. But that would be my only non-bioidentical steroid hormone that doesn't act like a steroid, that is suitable on a hormone replacement therapy protocol, considering, you don't want too much estradiol suppression, and you want to keep your lipids in its favorable ranges. I feel that Aromatase is 100% acceptable. Now, you don't have to use Aromatase if you're spacing your injections very close together, so you're microdosing this, hormone replacement dose of testosterone in order to keep your estradiol levels favorable. Diindolylmethane, calcium D-Glucarate would be suitable supplements, which are both found in nature. Well, calcium, of course, is a naturally occurring mineral. Diindolylmethane is found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, for example, or kale. But you'll have to consume, a very high amount of these vegetables to get, any noticeable effect of diindolylmethane, because the concentrations are traditionally pretty low. And I feel that diindolylmethane supplementation is a much more convenient and sustainable route going forward, because those broccoli farts, man, legendary. And it's not very enjoyable for your partner either. So I'd always go with diindolylmethane supplementations over, 4 pounds of broccoli per day. Whenever you decide to add that as an aromatase inhibitor or to promote estradiol metabolism, whether that's into esterone or estriol or by promoting excretion, it's a very suitable goodie on top of your hormone replacement therapy in combination with calcium D-Glucarate. The glucarate part of calcium D-Glucarate contributes to the glucuronidation process. Yeah, I know I need to brush up on my medical literacy, but self-employment is always a struggle for time. And honestly, guys, I think I just need an extra hour of sleep so I can pronounce these words correctly. Glucuronidation. Hope I said it correctly this time. Anyway, so calcium D-Glucarate contributes to excretion of estrogens and phytoestrogens through the kidneys. There's something to say that it might promote excretion of androgens as well. But I can tell you firsthand from my blood work, adding calcium D-Glucarate on top of my hormone replacement didn't lower my total testosterone or my free testosterone or my bioavailable testosterone concentrations whatsoever. But it did keep my serum estradiol within the reference range, but I was also using diindolylmethane. So, I feel that both supplements are suitable replacements for Aromatase, close enough to being bioidentical and suitable goodies on top of your hormone replacement therapy protocol. Now, if you're a guy that suffers from hair loss or prostate enlargement or another side effect that's associated with dihydrotestosterone, you might want to lower your dihydrotestosterone while you're running hormone replacement. And you can do that with either Solp, Omega, or Pygium, which both act by temporarily blocking the 5-alpha reductase enzymes, or use a medicinal 5-alpha reductase inhibitor like finasteride or dutasteride. Again, I don't have so much experience with that because hair loss and prostate enlargement is not really a big deal for me. But it's something you need to keep into consideration when you're running hormone replacement therapy, especially generous hormone replacement therapy for bodybuilders. With superphysiologic dosages of testosterone, you might get superphysiologic concentrations of dihydrotestosterone in return. And if you're suffering from side effects related to DHT, you need to manage that with a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. Again, it's a suitable goodie on top, even though it's not really a goodie, but it's just something there to prevent negative health ramifications and potential side effects. So that's basically the ancillary list. Aromatase, diindolylmethane, calcium D-Glucarate, or a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. Or Metformin. Or, and I know where we're going, my favorite, Cialis. Not bioidentical, but it has a lot of anti-aging properties by keeping your blood pressure in range. Again, hormone replacement might increase your blood pressure. It doesn't happen for everybody. For the guys that it does happen with, I feel that Cialis is probably a very good entry-level blood pressure medication. Now, if you need a little bit stronger blood pressure management, I would go with Nebivolol or Telmisartan. Again, there's a lot of varieties and something to say for either of these medications. And if you're on generous hormone replacement therapy, you might need to run both at low dosages. So let's say 5 milligrams of Nebivolol and 20 milligrams of Telmisartan. Or maybe you run 5 milligrams Nebivolol by itself, or 40 milligrams of Telmisartan by itself, or only 5 milligrams of Cialis. Again, you have to see on what kind of blood pressure management you need and how much of an anti-aging and longevity approach you're going to take with your hormone replacement therapy. And that will be my last suitable goodie on top. Again, Cialis has a lot of benefits, and Nebivolol has a lot of benefits, and Telmisartan has a lot of benefits. I'll list the Cialis and the Nebivolol videos up here, because unfortunately I don't have so much experience with Telmisartan, but I will definitely use that the next time I go back on hormone replacement, which might be, a couple weeks from now, considering I'm still, half natty right now. Now there's a couple gray area supplements which might still hold some value and a practical application on hormone replacement therapy. There's something to say for Boldenone, which is actually bioidentical because it's found in the scent gland of the Illibius verstratus aquatic water beetle. So it's not bioidentical in humans. It's also not bioidentical in horses or camels, but they respond pretty well to it considering the performance-enhancing benefits that they get from Boldenone on declinate. So there's something to say for Boldenone, even though it's a little bit gray area. And you can say the same for Nandrolone, which is actually bioidentical in humans because it's an intermediary hormone in the synthesis of testosterone into estradiol. So the way it works, testosterone enters the aromatase enzyme, it converts into Nandrolone, and then it converts into estradiol. So it is bioidentical. But there's no reference range for Nandrolone. At least for ACG, there's a reference range. It's like below, 0.5 milli-IUs per liter, if I remember that correctly. But I can't for the life of me find the reference range of Nandrolone in adult men. If you have the reference range of Nandrolone in adult men, please list it down below in the comment section. I was not able to find it, so that's probably trace amounts. And of course, when they do a WADA doping check for Nandrolone, they either find Nandrolone or they don't find Nandrolone, or they found one of the Nandrolone metabolites, or they don't find it. So it's the same as finding gold. You find one nugget. Oh, I got it. It's present. But you don't know how much gold is actually present in the place that you're looking for it. So, there's something to say for a very low dose of Nandrolone as part of a hormone replacement therapy protocol. But considering that there's no reference range for Nandrolone, what would be the highest acceptable dose? 25 milligrams per week? 50 milligrams per week? It's probably already way over the reference range, if there's even a reference range for Nandrolone. There's something to say for it, but I leave it in the gray area goodies for hormone replacement category. Another one, which is gray area, are the ecdysterones or Ecdysteroids and Turkesterone. Turkesterone is found in several plants, and Ecdysteroids are found in arthropods. So they are bioidentical, not in humans, but they're bioidentical and found in nature. Ecdysterones are found in arthropods, same as the Boldenone is found in that species of aquatic water beetle, and Turkesterone is found in plants. So I'll also put the Ecdysteroids and the Turkesterone in the gray area goodies list, because even though it's found in nature, it's not really bioidentical in humans. But there's something to say for it. I mean, my wife is running a Turkesterone experiment right now, and she's getting great results, and her blood work looks absolutely phenomenal. So, especially considering some of the other PEDs that she experimented with in the past. So I'll do a separate video somewhere in the next 2 weeks when she finishes that experiment. It's actually quite an impressive compound. So I feel that it's a suitable add-on, even though it's a little bit gray area. There's no drug test for it now, but I'm sure considering everybody's getting good results with the Turkesterone and some people getting good results with the Ecdysteroids, I'm sure they will be added to the WADA doping list at one point or another. Because they're, when you look at the chemical structure, it's pretty close to testosterone. It's also close to testosterone? Cholesterol. So this long laundry list of exogenous hormones and calories and gray area goodies is what I would consider hormone replacement therapy, considering the dosages remain moderate, the lowest effective dose, that you feel good, look good, great mood, great sex drive, good results in the gym, but probably not those freaky results in the gym that you would, otherwise get from being on cycle. So what would be the difference between all these compounds, at lowest effective dosages before you transition into a cycle? Well, as soon as you add in the Masterone, the Primo, the Trenbolone, Boldenone, Nandrolone, even though they're on the gray area list, the dosages have to be so moderate that they're probably even not worth the syringe that you're injecting it with, unless you're mixing it with your exogenous testosterone. Again, trying to keep the cost down here. So anything that is not really bioidentical, it's either not suitable, and when you start to add that in, you're just on a cycle, or you start to increase the bioidentical hormones that you're on as part of your hormone replacement therapy protocol to superphysiologic levels, meaning they're unreadable on a blood work panel, so you see that little dash greater than 2,000 nanograms per deciliter in your total testosterone, whatever the range is in your clinic or hospital that you'll get your testosterone checked. As soon as you see that little dash, you're on a cycle, baby. Really, just admit it. 500 milligrams of test per week, that's a cycle. If you're over 2 units of growth hormone per day, that's pretty much a cycle. And it would be a waste if you're on the 150 to 250 test and you go on 4 units of growth hormone. It's just a waste. You're wasting expensive peptides. Don't do it. If you're going, on a pretty hefty dose of insulin to facilitate nutrient uptake and using a little bit of IGF-1 with that, even if your testosterone is, sub 1,500 nanograms per deciliter, again, I feel that's a waste. You need to increase your testosterone or exogenous hormones like Trenbolone, Masterone, Primo, etc. for the insulin, the growth hormone, and the IGF-1 to really do their job and facilitate nutrient uptake, recovery, anabolism, hyperplasia, etc. So it really would be a waste to increase those dosages on your hormone replacement, because it's not really going to do anything on top of the, maybe generous hormone replacement of testosterone that you're on. So as soon as you start to add in the other anabolic androgenic steroids, and yes, I didn't mention Proviron for purpose. Proviron, I don't feel is part of a hormone replacement therapy protocol. I even mentioned it in the ebook just for the sake of completeness. Proviron might be useful if you're starting hormone replacement therapy and your sex hormone binding globulin levels are pretty high. But honestly, after 4 weeks, even on 125 milligrams of test and above, most cases sex hormone binding globulin levels go down. And you don't need Proviron to bring it down any further, because single digits or below 20 nanomoles per liter sex hormone binding globulin will not be as good for your sex drive or your overall anabolism. And I've explained it a million times before, so I won't do that here again. I won't waste your time with the sex hormone binding globulin receptor complex. You guys know what I mean. So, Proviron, Trenbolone, Masterone, Primo, anything over 25 milligrams of Nandrolone per week, and Boldenone, I don't feel, it's gray area, but you're really pushing the boundaries here. Basically, all the performance-enhancing drugs that are really exciting and give you really, really good results, even at lower dosages, those are not part of a hormone replacement therapy protocol. You are on a cycle. And I have nothing against running 250 tests, 200 Primo for like a whole year straight, given your blood work markers are in range. If you go any higher than 500 milligrams of test or 500 milligrams of anabolics combined, you probably need to cycle, do blasting and cruising, HRT during your cruise, considering or running any of the compounds that I just discussed previously, and a blast would be, anything over 250 milligrams of test per week, plus extra anabolic androgenic steroids on top. And you're on a cycle, just call it a cycle. Naming conventions are very important in the fitness industry, so you don't mislead people. You don't pretend to be more than you really are. I'm natural. No, you're on hormone replacement. I'm on hormone replacement. No, you're on a cycle. I'm running a cycle. No, you're blasting your socks off and your blood pressure is so high. I'm worried that one set on the leg press will turn the whole gym experience into that scene from The Shining. You guys know what I'm talking about. So keep that in mind. Just be honest with what you're taking. Tell the full story of what you're doing, whether that's during hormone replacement or a cycle. Don't leave any of the compounds out because everything contributes. And don't pretend to be more than you really are because a lot of these compounds contribute to your overall physique tremendously. And I'll leave it at that. I hope you found this informative. And yes, I'm fully aware that this was basically a very long infomercial for my hormone replacement therapy cruising bridging protocols ebook, which you can find on my website, VigorousSteve.com/shop. So if you found this video very informative and you'd like to know more about what real HRT actually is and which compounds you can take on HRT, consider purchasing that ebook. I have a lot of other ebooks published as well, comprehensive guides to bodybuilding pharmacology. You can find this on my website. There's a lot of free articles published in the articles section as well. So if you're on a little bit of a budget, but you still like to gain a little bit extra knowledge, head over to the articles section. There's a ton of articles right there. They're also very in-depth. If you're looking for personalized advice, you can find the rates to my services in the services section. Contact me through the contact form if you're interested in one of those services. Follow me on Instagram at VigorousSteve. Much obliged, and I'll see you in the next video.